This happened yesterday. It was pretty normal, as I live in a small town off the coast of Lake Michigan, with that everything's chill here kind of vibe. We were celebrating Halloween with a trunk or treat, where you trick or treat out of the back of people's cars. Parents were passing out candy, and I was doing my own trunk as well with my family. After everyone went home, it was pretty dark. I got home, got ready for bed, and went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to someone knocking at my door. I was already spooked, so I checked out the security camera to find a tall man repeating "trick or treat" while swaying back and forth. I immediately called the cops, but while I was on the call, he started repeatedly banging on my door. When the cops arrived, they found him sitting on my porch, yelling that he wanted the people inside to come out. It was just me and my brother home, and I wanted the cop to stay near us a little while so that I could stay safe. Later on, I was told the man had done this before, but they let him go with a warning because of his mental state. This time, he's going on trial because he had a knife on him and said he might hurt us if he had to. I'm just glad I didn't open that door. Edit 1. Thanks for all the support. He has received charges, and as far as I know, he'll be spending time in prison. When I was in college, around 2005, I, a 20-year-old female, was walking to class and ended up taking a path that took me to the outskirts of the campus. It was a big state school, but the campus definitely had some rural parts to it, and that's where this incident occurred. There were no other students or campus staff members milling about. I was crossing the small parking lot that had one car in it. From what I remember, it was a minivan. The driver was a woman in a wheelchair sitting outside of the car and yelled over to me that she needed help. I was hesitant because my gut went off that something was weird about this. But I walked over to her and she asked me to go into her van and get a half of a donut that had rolled to the back of the van and was under her seat. I did, because I was young and stupid and didn't know how to say no. I gave her the donut and continued walking to class. And that's the end of the story. The whole situation was so weird though, and still creeps me out when I think about it now. I kept thinking about the scene in Silence of the Lambs, when Buffalo Bill uses a fake disability to lure that girl into his van. Odds are that she was just an individual who was a little off, but damn, sometimes I still think about how stupid I was. When I was a kid, I'd say around 8-ish, I lived in kind of a sketchy neighborhood. A lot of the houses were trailers, perched on top of hollow concrete foundations, and any real houses were in need of some fixing up. One day, a new neighbor moved in. She was a couple years younger than me, and I'll call her Ellen for privacy's sake. She was always joining in on whatever I was doing, and coming over to see if I was there with no warning. There weren't too many nice kids in the neighborhood, so I understand where she was coming from to a certain extent, except she didn't seem to have the same idea of fun as I did. A lot of my memories from that time are a little fuzzy, but here's what I remember. Ellen was very aggressive. She'd get angry if I ever told her no, and almost every time I went to her house, I could hear her screaming at her parents, and later at her dog. She She was always very loud in general and seemed to enjoy making me flinch. I've never been a fan of loud voices when they're unneeded. I would also find missing things in my room, only to see them in hers. Things like friendship bracelets, stones I'd found, small toys. Whenever I pointed them out, she'd go silent and let me get them back, staring at me like I'd wronged her somehow. She unnerved me, to be honest. When we went frog hunting, there were a few times she pulled off the legs of our frogs, and her dog seemed to be scared of her. I'd also sometimes find dead birds and squirrels on my front steps, their legs and heads or wings missing. They were all over her yard too, but she just blamed the cat. I never saw her cat, and I remember hearing a couple different names for it. I can't be sure it was her, of course, but a little voice in my head thinks it was. My cat definitely killed mice too, but I'd never seen her do it so brutally before, tearing off pieces of it. She'd run into my mom sometimes, looking for me, and my lovely mother has told her she'd ask to come in anyways and wait for me in my room when I wasn't there. The answer was always no, for pretty obvious reasons. Our fence to the backyard was high, and there wasn't any way to climb it. It was about 6 feet of nice new wood, with a latch only on the backyard side. Our trash bins were about 10 to 15 feet away, by our front shed. We started finding them right up against the fence, and eventually my mom caught Ellen peeking over the fence when she was in the back cleaning our little pool. I also found Ellen lurking by the fence coming home from school one day when she was supposed to be homesick. I always got a horrible feeling being around her, like if I did something wrong or mentioned what I caught her doing, something bad would happen to me. We moved away about 1.5 years after she moved in, I think, and I have no idea what's up with her now. I haven't thought about Ellen in years, but driving past the old neighborhood a while ago brought it all back. So, when I was about 7, me and my mom had entered the subway. We were walking around, and this dude, probably in his 50s, and not so good looking health-wise, started walking beside us. I didn't think much of it at the time. As we walked, he got closer and held my hand. I yanked it away and looked up at him, and he had this horrible, creepy grin on his face. My mom saw what was going on and yelled at him. And that's it. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the stories today, feel free to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing. If you really liked what you heard, I have a few other videos posted on the channel. Feel free to check them out. We're still new here, so there's not huge hour-long playlists yet, but we're getting there. Alright. Hope you have a good night. Bye.